Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today I want to do a video telling you guys about a little theory that I've developed in the last few days about the cancelled Codename Nightmare event, because I think if this is correct, if I'm right about this, I think it could have a lot more implications for the future of this game and for the franchise than we might have realized initially. So just a heads up, this will contain spoilers for the story and the ending of Season 4, which is currently ongoing, thanks to the leaks that came out earlier in 2020. I will be discussing those in this video because I think it does relate to this Codename Nightmare event that has since been canceled. So heads up, if you don't want to hear about those, then click off now. So, I will say that credit for this whole theory of mine goes to Bond Diesel. I was watching his stream the other day, and he posed an interesting point about something related to this, and that kind of spiraled me down this theory-ridden path that led me to developing this whole theory. So, a link to his channel will be in the description, and yeah, thanks for pointing this out, because I hadn't thought about this, but now that I do, it's starting to kind of fit the puzzle, the larger puzzle that we've been trying to figure out about what's going on behind the scenes in The Division. And so yeah, I'm interested to get into it. So what am I on about? Let's start here. The most popular idea or theory that I've seen about what Codename Nightmare was going to be before it got canceled was people saying it was going to be Hunter related, that we were going to go there, maybe fight off some waves of enemies in the different buildings, and then fight a Hunter at the end, or something involving the Hunters, right? And people have even speculated that the clothing that we're going to get from it is going to be Hunter related. But here's my point about that. Why would they cancel a non-story related event like that that's just about the Hunters? Why cancel it instead of delay it, right? And so my thought now is, what if it's somehow connected to the current and ongoing story of Season 4 and the larger scheme and story of The Division 2? What Bond said in his stream when I was watching is that he hasn't been able to get a peep from any of his connections in Massive or in the development world about what that event was going to be. And so that led me to think that what if that's because it's going to spoil what's coming next? So this got me thinking further. People have interpreted, like I was saying about the Hunters, they've interpreted the word nightmare in the title of this event to be related to something like horror, like, spooky, kind of like the original Survival. You're going around, you're seeing a bunch of murdered bodies, like, oh, this is a nightmare. And I think the devs played that up even in the brief trailer we got for it at the Ubisoft Forward thing. It was like a storm going on outside, there's lightning, and that's kind of the vibe you get. But what if that's what they were trying to get us to think, and they were purposely trying to mislead us a little bit? What if the word nightmare is actually referring to a nightmare scenario? As we know it's going to happen in Season 4 in the Fei Lao mission, Fei kills the president, and assumedly we get marked rogue and pinned for killing our commander-in-chief, even though he's a traitor, and that's still going to have major implications like us being flagged rogue. What if that is what Codename Nightmare is referring to? Because we are now in the nightmare scenario where we are, flagged rogue, unlawfully and wrongly. So I think that could actually be what it was referring to. So imagine this. Imagine the event is, and maybe the whole thing of why, the way that you start it up is that you have to complete the Fey mission first, and then the event is you load in, and you're trying to head back to DC from White Oak, right? Because you're not going to get a chopper ride anymore if you've been flagged rogue and everyone thinks that you've disavowed the Division. They're not going to give you a chopper ride back. And so if I'm remembering right on the map of Div 2, White Oak is like 60 miles or something from DC, and then Kenley is 20. So what if the event is we load in, maybe you start on an opposite side of where you usually spawn in, and you're just, passing through Kenley on your way back to DC, because us, the agents, are trying to figure out what's going on. Like, what are we going to do about this scenario? So you're heading through Kenley, and then you find that there's like a squadron or a unit of SHD agents, maybe the third wave that I mentioned before, or maybe just some other ones that didn't get flagged, are searching for us. And then it becomes, oh shit, we have to now be on the run. We cannot go back to DC because they're hunting us down. And it starts off, and this Kenley event is some sort of like instanced mode that you can replay, but maybe you go in, they find you, and then it's a cat and mouse chase through the whole Kenley complex, and you're just having these different fights, and it's super epic and intense. That could have been what the event was going to be. And this also makes sense for Yannick teasing that this event, because remember, the content of this event is canceled, but it's still going to give us some cosmetics that were apparently originally tied to the event, and that's coming in an apparel event in about 3 weeks from when I'm recording this, and Yannick teased that it's going to be some of the most unique apparel they've ever added to the game. What if it's finally rogue clothing? And so that would make sense, because if this whole event was supposed to be us, being rogue, not that we wanted to be, but now that we are, what if we have to don some rogue clothing, or not have to, but now we have the option to, because we are rogue? And so maybe this event is still going to give us a lot of Rogue related clothing, and maybe the completion reward or something in there allows us to even do some Rogue customization, like making our watch permanently red. What if that's what it is? Because the most unique apparel yet, I mean, we already have some hunter stuff. They could give us some more elaborate hunter stuff, but I feel like this could really be what it is. Furthermore, this would also make sense why it was supposed to originally be a limited time event, because people brought up the idea of, well, if this is some super cool gameplay thing, then why would you make it limited time? You know, why would you introduce this and spend time developing it if it's just going to run for a few weeks? You know, people are going to want it back, right? Well, what if this is the immediate gameplay of the fallout after the Fae mission, and it's supposed to bridge us to whatever's next in March? And again, we don't know what that is. We don't know if there's going to be another expansion. We don't know if it's going to be a Division 3 announcement. We just don't know. And so the reason they canceled this is because it's not a necessary component to understand the story, but it was just going to be some really cool bit of gameplay that would allow us to start living the life of the, you know, being flagged rogue right after that mission, but it still wasn't going to be necessary to understand the overall arc of the story. And so I do want to point out that this more points towards an expansion 2, I feel like, than a Division 3. And if you've watched my videos, you know that I've said for a while now that I think it's more likely that we are not getting an expansion 2. But if this was supposed to be a limited time event starting right when the Fae mission ended, then, you know, and it was going to run for 3 or 4 weeks up to the beginning of March, where we were going to get another expansion, you know, fully delving into the story, then that would make sense why they canceled it, because maybe because of COVID, because of other reasons, they need all their development team on the expansion to get it ready and shipped for March. And so, you know, this is just the thing that got cut, because like I said, it wouldn't have been necessary to understand the story of what's going on with being flagged rogue. It just would have been a really cool thing to give players in the meantime while we waited for the expansion, because similar to what they did with Warlords, the day after they announced the expansion, they gave us episode 3, and those 2 missions were kind of the bridge between what happened in year 1 and what was going to happen in Warlords. There is one weird thing about this that I'll, you know, poke a bit of a hole in my own theory, is that if we are going to be getting rogue clothing from this, and if it was intended to be the nightmare scenario of us being flagged rogue, then why would they? Because now if you look on the timeline of the seasons, that event is coming 1 week before we get the Fae mission. So why would, if it is going to be rogue clothing, would they intentionally spoil that a week early? I don't know. I mean, we're not going to get the content of the event, so there's, you know, part of that where you could say, well, that doesn't necessarily spoil anything because it's not, you know, outright saying it's connected to the Fae mission. But I do think it would spoil a bit of the surprise. But who knows? We don't know when it was originally planned to be. If they were going to keep the content aspect of it, maybe it was going to come out the day or the day after the Fae mission, and the requirement for starting the event would have been to complete that mission, so then you know, go one step to the next in the story. We don't know, but I do think it is slightly weird that if this does turn out to be true, that they would put that event starting 1 week before the Fae mission. But again, who knows? You know, they can't really control when everyone's going to complete that Fae mission, because you have to do the entire manhunt beforehand anyway, right? So that's a bit out of their control, so maybe they just figured might as well put this out the same day as the 60 FPS patch for console, get a bit of hype generated before this mission comes out 1 week later, and maybe they're okay with spoiling it a tiny bit since a lot of stuff has already been leaked. Who knows? But I did want to point that out as a potential, you know, discrepancy and a bit of a weird thing about it. Alright guys, and that is going to do it for the video today. Not a super long one, but again, after I started piecing these bits together about this theory, I was just like, I kind of need to tell some people about this, because it seems like it could actually turn out to be true. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think about my theory here. Do you think I'm onto something? Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think this could actually turn out to be true? I guess we'll find out on February 9th and then in March if, you know, any of this was actually related once we see what is coming next for the future of this game and for the franchise at large. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you can be updated every time I upload. Have a great day, everyone, and until next time, RogueGold, out.